The Gospels tell us that women were the first to discover the empty tomb of Jesus. This is significant. In the ancient world, women were not considered reliable witnesses. Their testimony would not have been valued in a court of law. Yet the Gospel writers insist that women were the first to see the risen Jesus. This suggests that they were committed to telling the truth, even if it was inconvenient or unpopular. The women went to the tomb early on Sunday morning, expecting to anoint Jesus' body with spices. They were shocked to find the tomb empty. An angel appeared to them and told them that Jesus had risen. The women ran to tell the disciples. This story is important for several reasons. First, it shows that the resurrection was a physical event. The tomb was empty. The body of Jesus was gone. Second, it shows that the resurrection was witnessed by multiple people. The women all saw the empty tomb and the angel. Third, it shows that the resurrection was a cause for joy and celebration. The women were initially afraid, but they were filled with joy when they realized that Jesus was alive. Each gospel tells the story of the resurrection in its own way. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John each have their own unique perspectives. For example, Matthew focuses on the appearance of Jesus to the women at the tomb. Mark ends his gospel with the women fleeing in fear, leaving the reader in suspense. Luke emphasizes the role of the angels in announcing the resurrection. John highlights the importance of faith in the risen Jesus. Despite these differences, there is a remarkable consistency in the core message of the Gospels. Jesus of Nazareth, crucified and buried, was no longer in the tomb. He was alive, and he had appeared to his followers. The resurrection was not a private experience for a select few. It was a public event that transformed the lives of those who witnessed it. The different perspectives offered by the Gospels actually strengthen the historical case for the resurrection. If the Gospel writers were simply making up the story, they would have been more likely to agree on all the details. The fact that they don't suggests that they were relying on eyewitness accounts. The Gospels also record appearances of Jesus to his closest disciples. Jesus appeared to Peter, then to John and James. These appearances were not mere visions or hallucinations. Jesus ate with his disciples. He spoke with them. He invited them to touch his wounds. He showed them that he was truly alive in a physical, resurrected body. The story of Thomas is particularly instructive. Thomas was not present when Jesus first appeared to the other disciples. When they told him that Jesus was alive, he refused to believe it. He said, "Unless I see the mark of the nails in his hands and put my finger into the mark of the nails and put my hand into his side, I will not believe." A week later, Jesus appeared to the disciples again, and this time Thomas was present. Jesus invited Thomas to touch his wounds. Thomas, overcome with awe and belief, exclaimed, "My Lord and my God." The story of Thomas reminds us that doubt is not the opposite of faith. Doubt can be a part of the journey of faith. It is important to wrestle with our doubts and to seek out evidence for our beliefs. The Apostle Paul, in his first letter to the Corinthians, provides further evidence for the resurrection. He states that Jesus appeared to more than 500 brothers at once, many of whom were still alive at the time of his writing. This mass appearance strengthens the case for the resurrection as a historical event. It would have been impossible to convince so many people that they had seen the risen Jesus if it were not true. In the early years of the Christian movement, before the Gospels were written down, the story of Jesus' resurrection was passed on orally. It was proclaimed by eyewitnesses who had seen the risen Jesus and encountered him as the living Lord. This testimony, grounded in personal experience, formed the bedrock of the Christian faith. It was this belief in the resurrection that empowered the early Christians to face persecution and even death. The resurrection was not just a past event, it was a living reality that transformed their lives and gave them hope for the future.